Today's video, replacing the sending unit in a C4 Corvette. Alright, like I was saying, today's video is going to be about replacing the sending unit in my C4 Corvette. If you're not familiar with my C4 Corvette, it has like 276,000 miles on it, and it's a 1990, which makes it 35 years old as of this video. I've replaced many things on this vehicle. For instance, the oldest metal brake lines have been replaced with pre-bent stainless steel ones from Classic Tube. Brakes have been upgraded, Wildwoods, and I can keep going on, you know, the motor and all that stuff. But I did upgrade the fuel lines, going from the fuel filter to the fuel rails to stainless steel. I did a video on that some time ago. If I remember, I'll leave a link up here. But those were from pre-bent from Classic Tubes. I wanted to get the ones that run all the way back to the tank, but to replace them, from what I've read, you have to take the side panel off, which is bonded onto the car, and I really don't want to do that. One of the other things I want to change to stainless steel is the sending unit. And if you order one online, it'll come in a box, and inside the box will be a bag. And the sending unit, which is stainless steel. And that's what I want, because with today's fuel, you're just better off with stainless steel. Also, this came with, I'll try and leave a link down in the description box where I got it. I got it via eBay, via Classic Car Parts Supplier. You can get it all sorts of ways online. Order it through your parts store. I personally think it's worth spending a little extra money to get the stainless steel one. They weren't that much money. It also comes with a bag, which has a sock in it, the gasket, and looks like a piece of fuel end hose to hook up the fuel pump. Okay, now this one, you can get these with a fuel pump. I decided not to. The fuel pump I have is a Wildboro, I think it's pronounced, 255 gallon per hour pump, so it's a high volume pump. It's been in there a while. It still works great, so I'm just going to reuse that. The reason I'm changing this is I noticed last couple of years the fuel gauge is bouncing around a lot more, which has me worried, which means it's probably going to go. Also, there's corrosion on the outside. I don't know what the inside is like until we get it out, but these pipes right here, they're corroded, and you can just literally just bend them like paper. So they're corroded on the outside, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're corroded on the inside too. So it's a good idea to change that out. Sort of preventive maintenance. But let me move the camera around, and I'll show you what we have to do. This is an easy job, by the way. You should be able to do this in like maybe 30 minutes. I've heard people say, hey, I'll do it in 20 minutes, but figure 30 minutes to an hour, especially if it's the first time you're doing something like this. Figure give it an hour. You may have extra cleanup, etc., etc. But like I said, let's move the camera around and we'll look at the rear fuel hatch on a C4 Corvette. All right, here we have the fuel door on a C4 Corvette. Now, when you open your fuel door, you just stick your fingers here and lift it up. Believe it or not, I've seen people who do not know how to do that. And you should see your fuel cap, and this should be under there too, unless it's missing. You can get replacement ones if it's old, dried out, and rotted. I already have mine out, and the reason I did is a couple of weeks ago I did my fuel filter, and I decided I was going to do the sending unit and decided not to put this back in. But basically, I'll get into that once we remove this fuel door and get some better light so you can see. Hopefully you guys can see that good. And there will be 4 stainless steel torque bit screws. One here, and one over here. I don't know if you can see it because of the camera angle, but behind the fuel door, one there and one there. So one thing you might want to do is maybe lay a towel back here if you don't want to scratch your paint when you're doing this. Something to consider. I should probably do the same thing, but right now I don't think I have an old towel around, but let me look, and we'll get to removing this. All right, first thing you're going to need is a T15 torque bit. I like to use a long extension to get the ones on the other side of the fuel door. Take them out. Try to put them somewhere where you won't lose them. This one here doesn't want to come out. It's kind of stripped, so it's going to need a little help. Yep. There we go. Alright, we'll get that out later. But the ones on the other side of the fuel door are going to have like this elephant snot, what I call it. It's like a greasy, it's not grease, it's like a rubber, like kind of like rubber cement, I guess. And they use that to seal that, so when you take that off, keep that in mind. I made the mistake of using a swivel socket. There we go. Yeah, hopefully you guys can see the elephant snot on that. But got that one. And then this one that doesn't want to come out. There we go. It's coming. All right, let's get these out of here. Okay, once this cover is off, undo your fuel cap, and then you can pull your rubber piece out. This is for water drainage, so the water drains down this hose here and doesn't get all over your light sockets and stuff like that, your rear tail lights. You're going to need a flat-headed screwdriver, and you're going to need a, let's see, what size is this? This is a 5mm Allen wrench with an extension to get in there. You might as well take this off and get it out of the way. Some good light would help also. Hopefully you guys can see in here good. I don't know how good you guys can see, but hopefully good enough. If, like I was saying, you're better off doing this with a close to empty tank, like less than a quarter tank, even a half tank or less. Once you take these fuel lines off, they might try to siphon out, so keep that in mind when you do that. Do the hose clamps. You may want to pick up new hose clamps when you do this. This one here is looking a little crusty, so I'll probably replace that. I already have my lines marked, but this is the feed line that goes to the fuel injectors, and this is the return line. So the one closest to the interior of the car is your feed line. The one to the rear of the car is the return line, and then you'll have this little line over here, which is your vent line. Hopefully you can see that. Let me move the camera around a little bit better so you can see that. Okay, yeah, hopefully you can see this better, but that's your feed line, like I said, the upper one that goes towards the front of the car. This is your return line, and then there's this little line here, which is your vent line. The feed line, which is the high pressure one, will have, at least on mine, has 2 hose clamps. If you don't have 2 hose clamps, I recommend you put 2 on there. Return line, you only need the 1, and the same with the vent line. But let me get those off. Let's clamp up a little bit more. Okay, the lines are out. I don't see any fuel siphoning out, which is good. I don't have to worry about that. And I'm going to get a longer extension. there. Oh. Take them off. These screws, I believe, are stainless steel. I also noticed they got O-rings on them. So pop those in there. They have those little, they have O-rings and a washer. Try not to lose any of them. Oops. Now I can't remember if these stainless steel ones came with the car or I replaced them with stainless steel ones when I did the fuel pump. It was a long time ago I did it. Yep, losing my O-ring. Oh, I'll just have to get new O-rings. All right, I believe they're all out. Oh, and there she goes. And you just lift it out, and of course you'll have to maneuver it. And then there's this electrical connector right here, which probably should have done first. It'll have one of these locking things in here, a little plastic locking tab. You have to undo first. Yeah, I should have probably done that first, but there we go. All right. Okay, it's out. Okay, let's take this over to the workbench and we'll do some comparisons to the one I'm replacing. Okay, here's the old one. I forgot to turn the camera on and I was filming with that off. But here's the old one, and you can see how corroded it is. Hopefully you can see that. It's like corrosion here, and like the pipe for the vent, that's pretty corroded. That goes to the vent to the charcoal canister. The fuel lines themselves, that like the feed that goes to the fuel reel, the fuel injectors, that's clean inside and out. And the return one is looks pretty clean. There's some corrosion on the outside, and it looks like there might be a little corrosion on the inside too. I ran into a problem. This pump used different connectors than the factory pump. So when I did this pump, I changed that over. And not sure, it's different. Let's just say it's different, because this just grounds there, where this has these extra grounds here and here. Now I could splice them into this one, or just remove them, or just let them hang. I don't want to leave them hanging inside the tank. So I'll probably go ahead and maybe just cut them, because I really don't need them. I don't know why they did it this way. I don't know if maybe it has something to do with the stainless steel. What I could do is hook it up the way it is, test it, and if it works, fine. If not, I'll have to come up with something else. But I think that's the best thing I can do, is going to plug this in, test it. If it works, then I'll pull it back off and cut these lines. So let's go ahead and do that. Oh, I forgot transferring the pump over, but basically you just remove the old fuel pump by, depending what it is. If it's the original pump and pulsator in there, you basically just pop it off. There aren't even any clamps. The new one came with a new length of fuel line, and it came with these plastic clamps. I decided to use the stainless steel hose clamps that I had in there and use a new piece of hose. I wasn't able to use the sock that came with it, because the sock for this pump is different. So I'm just going to have to reuse this sock and use that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this in, test it, and see how it goes. Okay, you probably can't see it in there. You might be able to. There's the fuel sock in there, and there's some depress. So I'm going to fish that fuel sock out of there using this. I think it's a fuel sock. There we go. That's the old fuel sock. Look, it fell. Okay, it fell where I can't see it. That's probably why I didn't fish it out last time. So I don't know. We'll try it again. Let's see. There we go. Old fuel sock. Get that sucker out of there. All right, let's go on. Get to, I need to clean this surface up and then put that sucker in and test it. So let me get that cleaned up. Not quite sure how I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it. Okay, this is in the fuel sending unit. One thing you got to make sure of, and this is what I found out putting this in, is I didn't realize that gasket only goes on one way. In other words, two holes on this end are narrower together, so you got to make sure you get that orientated in there. I also, you're not really supposed to use any type of sealant on that gasket, but I used gasket dressing and sealant, Permatex. This is compatible with gasoline. And I'm also going to put some on the screws too, instead of using the O-rings, and use this as a thread sealer. So I'll be putting that on here and using it like a thread seal. I guess you could use the Teflon sealer. I don't know how, if that's safe. If you get some inside the fuel tank, what will happen? So I guess you could use that. I imagine that's fuel safe. Having a light here is really handy too, because seeing these holes in the dark can be problematic. Yep, very problematic. Let me try this. Okay, there we go. Might have to stick like a screwdriver in down some of these holes to get them lined up with the gasket correctly, where you put the screws in. That's for sure. That's what I'm finding out. Yep, there we go. That's better. Putting a little motor oil on there to make this hose slide on easier. 2 hose clamps on the feed and 1 on the return. I got to get a new clamp for that, and I'm going to see if I got let me see if I got a new hose clamp for this, because this is pretty bad. Actually, it ain't bad, it's just the head. There we go, new hose clamp. Okay. I'm going to see, this is the line that goes to the vent. I'm going to see if I can get a new one. This one here is not good. Let's see if I got another line. You can see how corroded that is, so let's see what else I got. Alright, I didn't have fuel line in that size, but this is like really brittle and ready to crack apart. I'm going to use this. This is what I have, and I'm going to have to reuse these hose clamps. I probably don't even need hose clamps with this, as long as it's tight fit enough, because all it is a vent. It's not under pressure. Well, it will be pressure when the pressure builds up in the tank, but it shouldn't be that much. These I'm just going to squirt some oil on when I get them in there, and that'll have to do. So see how this goes on, if it goes on. Oh yeah, there it goes. That's going good. Okay, went there, went there. It should go there. Okay. All right, let's move the camera around and I'll show you how that looks installed in there. All right, here you can see all the lines are hooked up. I ran that clear line there. I'm hoping that's compatible with gasoline. I've seen lawnmower equipment use those clear lines, so I'm hoping that's good. Everything looks good and sealed. I'm happy with it. I just got to get that rubber boot in, which can be a pain. I'll do that here in a second. Okay, I hope that was helpful. Installing this is, like I said, pretty easy. As long as you're using a stock replacement pump, you shouldn't have the problems like I had. I had to rewire mine. I basically had to repin it. I tested it, and they had that extra grounds on there, which this one doesn't have, and I just went and removed those. I didn't need them. Of course, you want to start test your car, or at least stick a fuel pressure gauge to it and test it, make sure it's working after you get that all done. Things I recommend when you do this is to have a can of carburetor cleaner, carb and choke cleaner, and that's compatible with gasoline. So if you spray it, like I used it to clean the area under here, I took some 80 grit sandpaper, cleaned it, sprayed it, cleaned it. Of course, you got to be careful not to get stuff in the tank. That's hard to do. Also, you might want to have a small piece of replacement fuel line for that vent line, and you want to have extra hose clamps. I didn't use these plastic clamps. I see nothing wrong with using them. I just prefer the stainless steel ones. I don't have to worry about these breaking off. If you have an aftermarket fuel pump, you might want to make sure you get the strainer for it that fits. Like I didn't realize it was a different type of strainer. It's not going to be a problem. From what I can tell, that strainer is pretty clean. I backflowed it just to make sure, using the carb cleaner. Usually the only time you need to replace these is if this sending unit in here goes bad to your fuel level gauge. I still need to check mine, by the way, make sure it's working. Usually that's the only time people replace these. I'm doing mine as preventive maintenance. You can see the corrosion and stuff on it. It's just a matter of time. Where it may cause problems. It might go another 35 years without causing problems, who knows. But this job's done. I hope it was helpful. Everybody have a great day, and God bless.